Good evening, guys. Bear with me now. I'm just going to attempt to add Harry, Stu, and Christian, and we can crack on with episode 5 of Wings Monthly.
I'm by myself, lads. Harry!
Right, just waiting on Stu now, guys.
Nice to meet you. I'm so pleased to meet you, mate.
It is. It's a pleasure.
Indeed, it is.
Good evening.
So we're waiting for
Good evening to Balloon Halos. First time into this, so what you're getting into is, well, I don't want to say to you. Bear with me. Let me try and see if I can add Stu again. He's probably making himself a really nice, strong cup of coffee. He'll need it.
Hey, James.
Water.
Evening, Jamie. Right, so just waiting on Stu now, guys.
I'm glad to say I'm not the only bald-headed old man here.
Oh, mate.
Do you know what? I just realised I think I'm the only one left with hair. In all fairness, you guys are making me feel young. I'm the rookie in comparison.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just impressed that 4. Go on, Harry. Sorry, mate.
I said I'm the old man, and I feel it.
I'm just.
They don't tell you when you hit 40 what happens to you. Things start falling off.
I was okay at 40. 55 really hit me hard.
Oh, mate, that's its fault. Literally, my body has fallen to pieces, unfortunately. Sorry, just trying to add Stu. I don't know why he's not come on as yet.
Come on, you Stu, you sheep shagger.
You can't say things like that on this professional program.
We're live. I know.
Harry missed your foul mouth rant as you joined the practice bit. I just wish I'd recorded it now, to be honest with you. Watching Christian just lose his rag at his computer because his computer wouldn't allow him to join the feed was comedy genius, to be honest with you, at times. So
like to keep it up, mate.
Stu don't appear to.
He's joined.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's joined. He's just joined the feed to listen.
Oh.
So just maybe another invite, mate.
Yeah, I've just sent it to him now. So hopefully, Stu, I don't know if you can. In the bottom corner, there is a little camera with a plus in the middle. If you press that, I might be able to join you that way. If you can't join the other way for some reason, I'll try one more invite. Bear with me. Nothing ever go. He's probably logged on his PC like you did, Christian. There he is. He's turned up.
The big
gentlemen.
We have a full contingent. Good evening, Stu. Thanks for joining, mate.
So we've gone a bit dark now. Turn the lights off, so it'll get lighter as the morning goes on.
What are you trying to hide?
That's the theory.
I think that's Stu's way of saying he's got a face for radio.
It will.
Haven't we all? We should be wearing balaclavas, really. It looked like some sort of IRA conference if we did that, so probably best not.
Very true.
Anyhow, look, thank you for everyone who's joined. This will be recorded and we'll whack it on YouTube. And of course, it'll be available on Instagram and then on the forum as well. So tonight is a very different video. Before I start, I just want to say a big thanks to Gary, Dan and Dwayne for last night joining. We went on for 2 hours. We agreed not to go quite so long tonight because obviously we are joined, for anybody who doesn't know, by 3 people from 3 different parts of the world. So we've got Harry, who's over in Oklahoma in the United States. We've got Christian over in Australia, and Stu is over in New Zealand. Of course, last night we had Dwayne in India. So it shows you how far things have come and how amazing things are. And of course, obviously, we're all in different time scales, or time zones, I should say. And it's going to, I really appreciate you all joining to do this. So tonight is about what is currently the Model Hangar, or the MH3 forum, which is, for those who aren't on it, a brilliant resource for all things die-cast aviation, and brilliant for the hobby. And these three gentlemen, I feel a rookie in comparison. These are the veterans. I apologise for calling you veterans of the hobby. These are obviously like the founders of this great forum, and really done a lot for the hobby. So just to sort of a quick summary tonight, we'll do a quick set of introductions in a minute. We're going to go through the history of the forum, sort of mention a few other forums as well. I'm obviously not going into great detail with that, because hopefully we can get somebody from those other forums on at some point. We'll go through a few of the HM releases or the latest poster, talk about a few of the new releases coming down as well. But like I said, it's a different night for me, because I'm going to be sitting in the background quite a lot, and Christian's sort of going to be leading the chat a bit more. So before I shut up for a bit, we'll start in what is my bottom left corner. Harry, do you want to introduce yourself? A little bit of backstory to yourself?
Harry Worthen. I was the original administrator on Model Hangar 1. I think everybody here, except for maybe Mark, were you on the original Model Hangar?
No, I didn't join until 2, I think it was, the second bit.
Yeah. I've been collecting since 1997. I originally started with the Franklin Mint, the collection armor stuff, 148 scale aircraft. Then about 1999, 2000, when Corgi started making 172nd, I started doing a little bit of research, and then I picked up Corgi, and my 172nd just took off from there. And I collected 172nd probably up into the middle 2000s, and then I switched back to 148 scale. At one time, I had over 300 172nd scale models, and now I have less than a handful. So 99% 148 scale.
Yeah, but obviously they're the old, I was going to say attic breakers, but the old loft breakers, aren't they? The bigger ones, and that's a trade-off, I guess, isn't it? I mean, I'm in the 172. Do you agree though that mixing them is like a cardinal sin? Because I can't be mixing scales; it really freaks me out. I don't know if it's just me.
I kind of like the 172nd was just too small for me, especially in single engine fighters. Yeah. I really 148 scale, and it really appealed to me more. I tried to get back into 172nd scale about 2 years ago, and I actually bought probably about 50 models, but then I just got overwhelmed. I got sick. I had cancer, and then I got through that and decided that I really needed to thin my collection out even more than what I already had. So I pretty much sold off all my 172nd stuff again. I still have one or two pieces. I've got a Century Wings F4 Phantom. That's actually my only jet that I have, and it's in 1/2 scale. But for the most part, my collection is World War II, and I really like the bigger scales. I like 148th, 132nd, stuff like that.
And again, that. I think this is what we spoke about last night, is that each to their own. There is no right or wrong. There is, obviously I'll make a joke about mixing scales, but whatever, I mean, there's some amazing collections where you've got 132, 148, 144, 172, all mixing together, and it looks brilliant. But like I said, that's the beauty of this hobby. You can do exactly and collect whatever you bloody want.
Oh, yeah. I really got into the 172nd scale bombers, the Lancaster B-17s, but the problem is they were too big and I ran out of room.
Yeah. I think it's a problem that most of us can agree with in this hobby, Harry. Unless you've got a mansion, it's not the easiest thing to display. And also add in the wife factor as well. We don't want to affect them too much as well.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate that my wife has been very accepting of my hobbies. My other hobby is I shoot. I'm a gun enthusiast, so I shoot a lot, and that is probably 3/4 of my hobby, of what I partake in as far as hobby goes. So you can find that range about once or twice a week. I know that's kind of off for you guys, since you're not allowed to really have guns.
No. But look, it's whatever floats your boat. And of course, the key to a long life, Harry, is being busy, and it's good for the mental health as well. And I found that, that I took a sabbatical from this, and actually, I think my mental health was not in a great place at that point. A lot going on, but it's key to keeping this active, keeps everything else active, doesn't it? So it's important to do something you love and enjoy. And I found that out, I guess, to my peril the last 2 years, that having this not so much involved in my life was probably coincidental why I wasn't getting to grips with things quicker.
Yeah, when I got sick, of course, I had colon cancer. Fortunately, they were able to take care of it with surgery. But they originally diagnosed me as stage 4.
Wow.
And because they thought that I had metastasized to my liver, but upon more thorough scans, they realized that it was actually a cyst on my liver and not cancer. So they reclassified me as a stage 1, and I was actually able to take care of it with surgery.
Great.
But I've had to deal with I've had 2 bouts of Bell's palsy. I don't know if you know what that is. So half of the muscles in my face don't work anymore.
Yeah. It's almost like a stroke effect, isn't it, on your face?
And the first time I got Bell's palsy, it was on my left side, and the second time it was on my right side. So I'm just dealing with all of that still. But fortunately, my taste buds have come back. Probably about 35% of my muscles in my face work still. But I still have problems with all other things. So I'm alive and I'm happy. I mean, I can't complain, but I'm still here. But, and this all happened after I turned 55,
Yeah.
Just like we was talking about in the pre-video, but it's good to still have you here, Harry, and really appreciate you joining obviously the feed tonight. And like I said, being a really important part of the history of the forum as well. It's great to have you here. Right, we're going to move on to Stu. Stu is who's in my bottom right corner. So Stu is over in New Zealand, obviously part of the international force for this evening. Stu, do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, thanks, Mark. Firstly, I'm in Perth in Western Australia, but I did originally live in New Zealand.
Right, see you later.
But I've lived in Perth now for just coming up 11 years, and so dual citizen, and Australia is now home. I like to get back to NZ once or twice a year because I've got a close family there. So, and I was only back there about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, very much loved West Aussie. I started collecting in the early 2000s, and I think the very first diecast model I bought was a Whitty Wings Diamondback Super Hornet. And the reason I bought that model is because I was at the Avalon Air Show that year, and that was when the F-111s are still busy, still flying, and the RAF was very actively looking for the replacement for the F-111. They'd probably already signed a deal by then, but the USS Coral Sea was in the neighbourhood. There was, I think, 2 or 3 rhinos from the Diamondbacks flew out, plus an E model Super Hornet from the Royal Maces that was just on ground display, and it was like love at first sight seeing the Super Hornet. And they flew over the Boeing test pilot to demo it, and he popped rivets. He was fantastic. And I thought, wow. And I saw a die-cast model of the same Hornet for sale. I thought, my word, that's a coincidence. And so the slippery slope began from there.
Ruined.
And ironically, I'm in the process now of trimming off all my Whitty Wings, Dragon Wings, and a few other things. Just the model collection's got away from me a little bit. I've never been able to display everything I've owned, which is a shame, but I am predominantly a 172 collector. Like probably most people, start off with these great intentions of, I'll have a Mosquito and I'll have a Lancaster, I'll have a B-17, but of course one is never enough. There's so many wonderful colour schemes. So yeah, things have morphed, things have sat probably for the last couple of years in the mid to high 800s. At one stage, I think most of it had on display has been about 150 to 200. So, and that's a lot less at the moment still. So time for a little bit of a trim, but I'm still adding and still modifying the collection as things go, but I'm not really doing a lot with adding a great deal at the moment. So spending most of my time still invested with the hobby because it is a definite passion, and the forums have been a big part of it. The first forum I joined was in 2006, and I got quite heavily involved with Model Hangar 2 with JP, and that was when I first got a moderated position. I was still happy to help out in the background with that, and then as JP sort of stepped aside sort of the latter part of the MH2 days, he put me and Jim, and I think Harry at the same time too, but pretty much in the admin seat. We were looking after the day-to-day running while JP took a fair bit of time off. So that was sort of a taste of wanting to get involved to help see the forums not get cluttered up with idiocy and spam and rubbish. And then it went from stage to stage from there, and we'll talk more about the evolution of what I did with MH3 and why and how it came about shortly. But in the summary, that's me, and that's collecting. I have lots and a multiple of scales, a lot of 1-200. I have got quite a lot of civvy stuff, quite a few airliners, and a mix of 148 and probably the best, no, not the best, but probably the most prolific in my collection is the Tomcat. I've got 54 of those, which are all wings and flipper wings and 3 Hobbymaster. Yeah.
Magnificent.
That's my summary.
That must look fantastic on the shelves. Blimmin' hell. Bloody hell. So thanks, Stu, for obviously your introduction. And then finally over to my top right and regular contributor, Christian. Christian, do you want to introduce yourself and then get cracking with the chat?
Yes, so I'll be quick. My name's Christian. I am a prolific collector. I haven't gotten rid of any models, and I've still got some space left. So that's my life's pretty good. I just want to point out one thing about Harry, if I may, because he's been far too self-effacing. There are artists in the world who do code 3s, and Harry is one of them. And if any of you have ever seen any of his Luftwaffe stuff, you would quickly come to the conclusion that he's an artist. He's one of the best code 3s in the business. I have a squadron of his Mustangs, and they're the best models I own. So I just wanted to say that, Harry, because you didn't mention it, and I think it should be acknowledged that he's probably, he's in the top 3 in the game for code 3s, and some of his stuff is just masterful. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks, Christian.
That's all right, because I've got plenty of your Mustangs, and it just needs to be said.
And I'll be putting a few orders, Harry. Yeah.
Yes.
You've come on here for work. You've got it now, pal.
Sorry to bring it in, Harry. Right, so we're going to mainly concentrate on the model hanger pub iteration or series of forums. And it's been around for a long time. And I just want to start off with Harry, because he was heavily involved in Model Hanger 1. So we'll just quickly get through that first. So Harry, can you just tell us how Model Hanger 1 came about, how you got involved, and what it was like, because it was quite unique in the hobby, and it was certainly a value added to the hobby. So if you could just give us a bit of a spiel on how all that happened, mate.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Model Hanger 1 came about. I somehow, and I don't honestly remember how I got in touch with Martin, who owned the Flying Mule. Martin contacted me. I was actually buying a lot of models from him, and he just basically contacted me one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to start a web forum. Do you want to be the administrator of it?" And I'll be honest, I've never done it before. It was a brand new venture for me. He originally wanted to build a diecast community, but in all honesty, his whole intention was to build it so he could sell models. It was a business venture for him. And when it, during the duration of Model Hanger 1, he pretty much coached me in the background, telling me, do this, don't do that, because I've never had any experience doing anything like that. He didn't like a lot of extra play in the forum. He wanted people to talk about the models. So, and I'll be honest, I probably made a few people mad, because we had to moderate it pretty heavily. And he didn't like negative talk about models, because Corgi, for example, Corgi would introduce a model, and everybody would rave, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to buy it." They'll pre-order it. He'd get 100 pre-orders, and when the pre-production came out, people just chew it up, and next thing you know, he's lost half his pre-orders, and he was not happy. Not happy.
Sounds familiar.
and I can kind of see from a business standpoint, but everything can't be, roses all the time. You have to take the good and the bad, and that's what I tried to tell him. I said, well, people are going to have their opinions on their models. I mean, there's nothing you can't moderate only the good and cut out the bad. And he just, I think he finally got to the point where he got tired of it, and he just said, I'm done, and I'm going to kill the forum. And at that point, I think that's when JP started the lifeboat.
Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to do this from memory, and my memory's really not that great anymore. And JP helped. He asked me to come on board to help with that, and we ran that up until I think it morphed into Model Hangar 2. And then we ran Model Hangar 2 up and for a few years, and then I dropped out more or less. I'll be honest, I'd had enough of the moderating and the administrating of the forum. I'm a very social person. I like to be in with the group, and I found out in Model Hangar 2 that I wasn't very liked anymore, and it really turned me off to collecting, and that's when I dropped out. And I dropped out, and then I think Stu invited me to Model Hangar 3, and I joined in, and I don't participate as much as I would like to, but I hate to say it, but and I think I kind of related this to Christian a little bit, that I can probably count on two hands how many friends I have on the forum anymore. So, and it's from my experience from the previous forums. There were some things that went on in Model Hangar 2 that I didn't agree with, and I made them, and I made quite a few mistakes, and I admit it freely. But that's why I don't participate very much in the forum anymore. I hate to be this way and tell people, but I've had people buy models from me or something like that, and they'll say, well, I'm gonna buy this from you, but don't tell anybody.
Which is ridiculous. Shame on them.
Yeah, don't post it on the forum. Buying from you.
I personally think that it's not as bad as what you think, Harry. I've actually spoken to a few people, and one or two that I know were involved in those days, and the ones that I spoke to have got nothing but affection for you. I was just wondering this was before the days of Hobby Master, wasn't it? So there was no Hobby Master around then. So it would have been Witty, Dragon, Corgi, and the 148 guys. So Eagles International, Carousel One, and Franklin Mint. Model Hangar 3 is incredible now because as soon as something comes up, it's posted and threads start that way. Was it a similar sort of thing, or did the Mule post all the new releases on the forum, or did the members do it?
The Mule pretty much, whenever anything came out, we would post it up. Corgi was brand new. Dragon was coming in. Dragon actually started with the 172nd scale armor. That was okay. That was my first introduction to Dragon, and then they got into Dragon Wings, which were the aircraft. And then, of course, Matchbox was in there. Hobby Master didn't come around at all. There was Eagles International came in at one point. And we still have the Franklin Mint guys.
Yeah.
Or Collect Armor. Or Collection Armor, I guess it is. I always refer to it now as Franklin Mint.
Yeah. That's we know it as in the UK, Franklin Mint.
Yeah. I think
that Martin pretty much posted all the new product introductions.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. It's interesting. There's a lot of people I think I joined the forums right at the end of Model Hangar 1 and when we moved over to the lifeboat. So I have no idea of what happened in Model Hangar 1. But when I did join, Stu was there, Harry was there, like Pappy was there, Skunky was there. Like there's still people who are active posters now on MH3 that were around from MH1. Jim, bless him, God bless him. He was a pretty active armor addict who hardly ever posts anymore. There's a lot of great members that are still posting, still big posters in Model Hangar 3. So I think that speaks volumes about the forums itself.
Yeah.
That people are still hanging on and still contributing. So Model Hangar Model Hangar 1 finished because Martin turned it off. Is that right?
Yeah, he just wanted out of it.
Okay.
He was
and then
done.
and then you and JP. For those who don't know, JP or Starman 352nd was a huge forum member, and a great guy. And I've spoken to him on the phone years and years ago. He's a great person. So you and him formed the Lifeboat. How did you do that?
Well, he actually formed the Lifeboat. He just helped me come on because I had been administrating and moderating the Model Hangar 1. He need to help him,
Yeah.
and sure I'll come on as a moderator. And I mean, it just kind of morphed from there. I don't remember exactly all the details. It's been so long ago, but
I don't think the Lifeboat lasted a long time, did it?
it lasted probably maybe a year and a half,
Yeah.
and then it morphed into Model Hangar 2.
Yeah.
Model Hangar was only dead. Then it changed into Model Hangar 2.
Yeah. And I mean, the Lifeboat, and I seem to remember Model Hangar 2, there was a lot of technical issues with that particular forum, and it basically crashed.
Yeah.
And so JP was running Model Hangar 2, and by then, Hobby Master was on board. And I seem to recall William used to post quite a fair bit. William from Hobby Master used to post quite a fair bit on Model Hangar 2 till we chased him away. And then by then, other Dragon, Witty Wings, they started to fade away a little bit. And so did Franklin Mint, if I recall, around about that time, Model Hangar 2.
Well, you can really Hobby Master in my opinion, and this is solely my opinion, but you can really thank Hobby Master for the demise of the smaller diecast companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reason being is the day that they offered their Buffalo, which their 148 scale Buffalo, and 148 scale for $35.
Yes.
It pretty much the writing on the wall for all these other smaller diecast companies that were producing 148, Carousel, Eagles International, they could not sell a model for that.
No.
And so it basically, I mean, I hate to say it, I mean, Hobby Master has been great for the hobby, but in my opinion, they really killed off a lot of the smaller companies that were invested in creating diecast.
Sorry to interject, guys. Obviously, from a UK point of view, I spoke about this in the pre-call. We had Model Zone, and what got me into it, it was about 2006, and we called it the old Corgi dump days, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I remember going into a Model Zone at Lakeside and picking up a 172 B17 for 30. Sorry, a 148 B17. It was the US Coast Guard one with the boat underneath for 30 quid. A 148 Franklin Mint, and they had piles of them in the window, like Liberators, Dakotas, Mitchells, all the smaller fighters, and they were all like 25, 20 quid. Was that around about the time of Model Hangar 2 then?
I think so. A lot of
so
scale manufacturers, especially Franklin Mint, during the bend, what we call the bend days, when you could go to the air show, and this is what I've heard. I know that a lot of people posted that, I went and bought this model for £10 or whatever your dollar equivalent is. And, Corgi kind of did that to themselves. I think that they looked at it as they were running through hard times and they needed to get rid of inventory.
Well, they were knocking out 4,000 runs, weren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's lightning 6,000 one run. I mean, just incredible numbers.
Yeah.
And
I guess obviously when you produce them at that amount, you can sell them cheaper, obviously, clearly, because you've got more product, more order.
I should point out it was the retailers and the wholesalers that were pushing for that, pushing for those large runs, for that exact reason, because they knew they'd dump, and that's where they made a lot of their money. So I think they were partly to blame. Sorry, I just wanted to make that point.
I remember going into there. We have a discount store here called Tuesday Morning, and I remember 1/72 scale Corgi bombers being on the shelf for $29.99.
Well,
You know, and that's I mean, we scarfed those up. Those seem to be, that particular store seems to be the toy dump store that everybody went to. 21st Century did the same thing. When they dumped all their models, they went to Tuesday Morning. Corgi, there was just shelves and shelves full of Corgi, and I don't know where they came from because they were here in the U.S. Corgi is over in the UK, and you would expect that in the UK where they have all their inventory, but you wouldn't expect that here in the US.
I wonder if they're linked to because there was a parent company in Model Zone, and I think they were the importer. I think they were called Amarang, if I remember rightly.
yes.
And I wonder whether that Tuesday Morning were linked to Amarang, because Amarang went under the same time as Model Zone went under. And I remember it's really dark. It's a really dark day because I worked in central London. I worked in Islington at the time, and there was the mothership Model Zone was in a place in central London called Holborn, and I worked for Sainsbury's, and our head office was in Holborn, and I had quite a bit of freedom, so I jumped on the bus. I remember going down there when it was shutting and filling up bags. I spent £100, and I must have come home with 18 models.
Yeah.
And that includes some of the Big and Hill trio, which is now like gold dust.
Really?
I remember getting a Sea Fury, a Korean Sea Fury for £5, brand new, boxed. It was madness, absolute madness. Obviously, from my point of view, as a customer or a collector, I remember whacking it all on the Barclay card and then getting a bollocking from my then wife around spending £100 on models. But I was like, investment. Obviously, I never could sell them, but I wonder whether that was linked. Sorry to jump in there, Harry.
Well, I was just about to say, wasn't Corgi USA around about that time as well?
Yeah.
And that they crashed as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they and then Corgi got sold, if I recall.
They did, yeah. And that's why they got sold to Hornby.
Yeah.
Because Michael
the
Clegg
whole thing's been crashing down.
Yeah, Michael Clegg worked for the Corgi, not like a club, it's like the Corgi Centre or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think before he went into Corgi, because he was part of Flying Tigers.
CHC.
But I think he went from Corgi Club to Flying Tigers to Corgi. I mean, Michael might be able to correct me on that, but I'm pretty certain that was the thing, because they did the Corgi centre models, didn't they? Like the Messerschmitt. Do you remember the Emil, which you had a desert one with the yellow motive on the front? I forget which one, the name, the staff or whatever it was, but they did the two desert ones, didn't they? One in the standard grey sort of scheme and one in the desert. And that was a Corgi centre job. So
very collectible time.
Yeah. They were in real trouble. They nearly, I mean, they were on the brink of going completely out of business if Hornby stepped in.
So, sorry, go on, Harry.
And Carousel also dumped at that time.
They did.
I remember ordering Carousel 1. They were $15 a piece.
Wow.
Yep.
Fantastic models.
I wish I'd have bought more.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Harry,
hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Historic Aviation were doing all the dumping. They were the agent, weren't they? And I dipped the toe in the water, and I thought I'll just bring 2 or 3 into the old cart, and it came up with a shipping thing, and obviously the US to New Zealand, as I was in them, was always a horrific rate, and it came up with these 3 models, and considering they were really big boxes, the Carousel One products, and it was something like $25. I thought, well, I'll chuck them in the cart, I'll hit send, and they'll correct it if there's an error with the shipping. Well, they never did. And these 3 models, they shipped. And so I thought, right, that's too good to be true. So there's a nice flock of triplanes I wouldn't mind. So I threw another 3 or 4 in the cart and did the same thing. I must have bought 15 or so models for next to no shipping. And the models were $30 or something like that for the Carousel ones. They're superb models. Yeah. The models you never want to part with.
I agree.
Just crazy days. Absolutely crazy. But
all right, so
that didn't survive because of that dumping process at that time. It was too hard.
Yeah. So model. So where are we up to? We've done the lifeboat, model hanger 2. Now, model hanger 2 was, I think, as I mentioned before, I think it went down mainly for technical issues.
Yeah,
and then
it was
the pub came round.
the pub came round.
I love the pub because I love the chat in the pub. And
2008, the pub came about, and that's when model hanger 2 pretty much was turned off.
Yeah.
So JP shut the life support system down. The pub was also known as the lifeboat, I suppose, Mark II for quite a while there. But yeah, 2008, that's when that fired up. There we go. Exhibit A, Hawkeye Heritage Centre model.
Yeah, I love. Now that's where I made. I mean, I reached out to people through PMs before the pub, but the chat feature in the pub was where I made a lot of big friends. Bart, yourself, Stu. I met a lot of people on Jim. That's how the Jim and I got along, and there'd be 10 people on this chat, and like I'd be up all night just chatting to people about the hobby and about stuff. That was the great thing about the pub. There were always there. I think at the end, did JP hang on to it to the end, or did he hand it over to you, Stu?
He handed over to me and Jim. He was not there for the last nearly 2 years. He was going through some quite bad health concerns himself. I believe a divorce and a bereavement. So he was absent for well over a year.
There's a bit of trouble.
When we were reaching out to him, because we went through that whole thing, the pub host changed servers to a server called Yuku, YUKU, and it was an absolute abject disaster. What led to the birth of Model Hanger 3, because the forum started really crumbling. And we were contacting JP saying, look, we're getting nude bloody images popping up on spam and members' screens, and there's all this bad stuff happening, and he wasn't contactable. So he pretty much left us to it, and we didn't know what to do. So we were just trying to moderate best we could, trying to contact Yuku to see if they were aware of the issues, but people were dropping off because when you'd log in, you get a Trojan virus. Or in my case, days and other members, you'd log in and you couldn't get in for 2 days. And so that host was going through a raft of disasters. So even with anti-spamming software or other virus protection software, people were still getting quite threatening messages saying your computer is now infected. And of course, no one wants to be on a forum where they're going to risk ruining their hardware. So people dropped off left, right, and centre, and that was such a damn shame, because over those years, again, like most forums, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, the wealth of information, the photos, the threads, the depth of information, it just builds up like a beautiful library, and it was all, you couldn't access it. People were dropping and didn't want a bar of it, and that was very, very sad. So it probably reached its peak in early 2015. And it was later 2015 that I said, enough's enough. We need a lifeboat for this forum now, because if this thing doesn't get fixed, it's going to die. And already there were people quitting and going to other forums anyway. And I wanted to try and keep that sort of family. As Harry said, there's that sort of core of collectors that went from forum to forum that were in the hobby. Intricate parts of the richness of the forums and the hobby itself. And you don't want to lose contact, because they become, by context of being there with you, they become your mates. You may never have seen them, never spoke to them, but you've probably messaged them, you've probably agreed with their sentiments about new releases, and they're like-minded people, and you don't want to lose that family. So, which is why in October I launched the Model Hanger 3 to try and keep the Model Hanger brand alive, but also to make sure at least there was somewhere to go, because I hoped JP would come back and say, I've got this sorted, and we could park Model Hanger 3 and just keep going with all that rich history of the pub. But it just wasn't to be. It just continued to die a very slow and painful death. And I was looking back yesterday, just doing a bit of homework for today on some of the other forums, and there's all these different threads being posted. What's going on with the Hanger pub? This is awful. Blah blah blah. I got porn sent to me, blah, blah, blah. It was a terrible time, and just people were just nervous about logging into a forum, and that was just wrong. So, here we are.
Can't blame JP, because he was going through a terrible time.
He was.
And, he has been on Model Hanger 3, Stu. I'm sure you've noticed. He hasn't posted, but he has. Do you keep in touch with him? Do you, Harry or Stu?
I've messaged him a couple of times. I've talked to him a couple of times, and I've tried to message him lately, but he hadn't responded.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him probably for 3 or 4 weeks, mate.
He's a stalwart. I wish he'd come back. He's a stalwart of the forums.
Yeah, very much so. Very much
yeah.
so.
So how did you pick the host, Stu? Because you picked a bloody good one.
So Pro Boards. Yeah, so I'd been a member of a New Zealand aviation forum for quite a while. I've been going for quite a while, and I was literally on there having a browse and just sort of reading current content, what was happening in the aviation world, and down the very bottom had this little byline, want your own forum, click here. I thought, oh, and I thought, well, something's got to happen with the pub. It can't continue, and so should I take on more workload and try and pick up and kick off a lifeboat for that? And I thought, someone needs to, because there's quite a lot at stake. Because once a forum closes and there's nowhere else to go to, where do you go to try and find those people and bring them back? You're sort of lassoing through emails or contacts, or Facebook wasn't all that relevant back then as far as model collecting goes. So there was no real community to try and keep people together to try and make sure someone knew where to go. So I thought, well, I'd fire it up. I'd let people know there was a backup. At least we could go there and discuss some of the issues people were experiencing. But it was, it was on this other forum, the Wings Over New Zealand, that they had this link there for Pro Boards. And I thought, you know what, I've been on this forum for a few years and it was stable as heck. It's never gone down. It's never had problems. It's never had spam. It had a few pop-up ads from time to time, but that's because the owner didn't pay for the ad-free option, which was fine. And I thought, well, I'll fire it up and see how hard it is to actually start a forum. And it was surprisingly intuitive, and it was not too painful to get going. And I sort of had an idea of the architecture of what I wanted to do as far as the different groups and things, but that obviously evolved. But I just got the bare bones of it together, fired it up. No one was a member of it apart from me, so I could just look at it and scroll on and have a look. And that was obviously October 2015, and that's when I sent you a PM as the first member to join, to say, have a review, have a critique, let's look at the layout and see what you think. And as they say, that was history. So so 2008 to 2016, JP shut down the pub about a year after, or about 6 months after the MH3 had started. He said to me, look, is anybody interested? I said, mate, nothing's changed. It's still too toxic to go there as far as the threats. I went back on there and kept checking it, and he said, yeah, he'd been in touch with them, and they said, well, from their end, there was nothing wrong. JP was a little bit unhappy, and I said, well, at the end of the day, mate, you weren't around. Nothing's changed as far as the pop-up threats and go. So people are talking and walking with their feet. So something had to be done, otherwise we've lost everything.
That's right, he was. Yeah, I remember that actually. I remember he was.
And it's understandable. A lot of effort, a lot of pride, a lot of energy got into it, and beyond his control, it was falling apart around him. And so, well, look, on a positive note, everyone's still together. We can still keep discussing. We couldn't bring the content over. Obviously, that's a big deal to try and change and import all the content and the photos from other forums. But I mean, the big thing was bringing the members over, so at least they could bring their content back with them if they chose to reload it. So so the lifeboat RIP was the thing. You look at, there's an old link there. It still says TDHP, the lifeboat, 2008, 2016 RIP. So that was the end of the pub.
The Model Hangar 3 really is, it's sort of like when you go through the process of these forums, it's that the Model Hangar 3 became, it's just matured as the forum community. And you have a look at some of the stuff. I mean, there is thousands, literally thousands of videos of models from, what's his name? Sorry.
Ed Ko.
Ed Ko. Thank you.
Ed,
Like the library of information now in Model Hangar 3 has no peer, in my view.
No,
and that's fantastic. And I just can't say enough what a wonderful job you've done, Stu. And that forum is just like cracking on. And we're getting new members all the time. And there's like all forums, there's a bit of argy-bargy. I'm trying to be better. I am. And, but
you can quote him on this,
Yeah.
folks. We've got this on video.
I'm trying to be better. And I'm trying not to ruin it for everyone. So I've ignored people and I just get on with it.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic forum, and the photos, like, it's the easiest forum to use. Posting photos, posting links, YouTube. I mean, it is like when you're talking about maturity of forums, that the hobby is very well served by that forum.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Stu, do any of the manufacturers contact you, or have they contacted you?
No, not specifically. There are,
Except for
because when
spice.
people join, you can see their email address. So look, there's half a dozen employees of Hornby on there.
Oh, really?
I know William was, but doesn't now. I've contacted him. He doesn't want to get involved with the forum scene anymore. He's far too busy. Because why does he need to? That his brand's matured so well. It doesn't need anything extra on what we're doing to support it anyway. But no, I haven't had any other contact, many other manufacturers. It was nice to see Corgi Hop for a while there. I'm sure he still lurks around, but probably picking up his information.
That's something we can. That's something I'll discuss with him when we talk to him, Stu. I know people. Look, you've got to have your tin hat on at times, because people give a shit about the hobby. In order to give a shit about the hobby, end up discussing a certain B58, for example. If you care enough about it, and we want it to be right, and the prices are high, we've got every right to be critical, but it's got to be constructive as well. I think it's a better place for him being on there, because when he come on now, it was like Wild West coming out of the sunset, wasn't it, and just turning up in the town. Everyone's like, wow, this guy. And it was great. And then all of a sudden, he started getting quieter and quieter and quieter, because people started going, well, this ain't good, this ain't good. And I get there's some issues, but I think it's a better place for him being there and being that contact where people can get to him freely. Yeah,
very much so. We do have a good cross-section of retailers that are members, and again, I think it's important they are listening and looking as well, because at the end of the day, they're the links back to the manufacturers as well. They've got obviously a lot of clout by being either the importer or the seller, so their voice is important. They don't post a lot, some of them, but that's important that they're there too, to get a feel for what they think is going to be a problem for them, maybe because they can see straight away. They may get to see the pre-pro just before it hits the shelves, before their stock arrives, and they know it's got a massive balls up to it, so they probably know they're going to get a whole bunch of cancellations. That as it may. I mean, that's good too, but there's a pretty broad cross-section of people that are members that have got quite a wide sort of angle across the hobby.
And international cross-section too, like the diversity in Model Hanger 3, like we got China, Indonesian, Malay, and look at
this
huge cross-section.
Christian.
Sorry, well,
look at this video. India last night with Dwayne. It's reaching further and further afield now, which is good, and I think the hobby needs it to stay alive as well. Because
I agree. I think the cosmopolitan nature of the hobby is a critical requirement. So,
very much so.
Mark,
sorry, so if it's any relevance. So, just looking at MH3, so because I can track them through the IP addresses, so 164 different countries. So there's 164 countries. Obviously, we could probably list 30 or 40 that you would think would have active diecast collecting members. But I mean, I don't know. I look at some countries and I can't imagine why anyone would be in a war-torn, ravaged country, why they'd be interested in diecast. But maybe they thought they're different models. I don't know.
Because they're a fabulous bunch of lads.
And if you look at the top 10 of the most frequent, obviously US, Great Britain, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Netherlands, Singapore, South Africa, and New Zealand are the top 10 countries represented as most members viewing and on the forum. An average month, I do a rolling month, so between the 7th of last month to yesterday, so 4,797 different posts and 311,000 page views and 178 threads started in those rolling 30 days.
That's amazing.
And 95% of them were Christian, probably.
Possibly so. think in average, when you see a new a new release, maybe Hobbymaster release catalog comes out, or a flyer rather, I think the most we get around about 340 posts a day, which is fantastic. It means there's still a lot of people engaged in the hobby, and they've got a place to do it to complement Facebook.
That is, yeah. So it's I love the Model Hanger 3, just love it. So I think we'll just quickly mention two more forums, just quickly. One is Diecast Flight Deck. Does anybody recall that rather interesting forum? Stu does, because I can see him smiling. Have you ever joined the DFD? What an extraordinary forum!
It was just the weirdest place. It really was. It was
incredible.
It was R18.
Can I
R18 at best.
Sorry, Harry.
I said, can I interject here? The DFD was actually formed because it was a spinoff from the guys that had problems with me moderating the forum. They wanted their free speech, so they went to the DFD. I'll be honest, I never joined.
Well, they were big advocates for free speech. Let me tell you, my friend, they were just outrageous. Some of the stuff that was on that forum, it was
I will say this:
extraordinary.
Well, the Model Hanger 3 is really, I mean, considering the fact that we're in the golden age of diecast right now, I don't think that we'll ever be better. And honestly, I think we're almost at the pinnacle of diecast.
Yeah.
When you look at the average age of the diecast collector is in their 50s, I think.
Yeah, safe. Yep.
So, you know, in 10 years, will the top still be around? I don't know. But I know right now that never, in my experience, has there been more models available, the quality of the models, and, you know, the Model Hanger 3 really is the place to be. You know, and I think Stu's done a fantastic job putting it together.
I think people who talk about the demise of the hobby, I don't know where they get it from. I really don't. I agree with Harry. I think it's at the moment the diversity of the hobby and the strength of the hobby is absolutely amazing. So I just the DFD, it didn't last very long. It was the most extraordinary place. The only time that it got serious, if you popped up there and had to go to the F104 or the C5 Galaxy, and then you copped an earful. Yep. But other than that, it was just extraordinary. The other one that I just want to quickly talk about is the Model Warbird Collector, which was a couple of lads got a bit not happy with the way the forum was running. I think it was the pub, mainly because it was focused on the jet stuff, and they wanted to focus a bit more on World War II. That only lasted a little while. There was a lot of plastic stuff on there, but it slowly died away. And Hot Trap, who was the administrator, shut it down. But it was a pretty good forum, and there was a lot of good World War II history on that forum.
It was.
But again, it slowly died. So just mention those two forums, because Model Hanger is the be-all end-all, but there was a couple of others that gave it a go.
Yeah.
So Mark
did a good job with that forum. He did a really cracking job with it.
It was
Alan did a cracking job for it, and there was a lot of kit building in there too, and there was really no place for the kit builders to really expose their talents to another forum community. So it was a good mix of the plastic as well as the die-cast. I know Hornchurch, old Horn Dog, was in there helping administer that one. But it was just a good fun forum. But it drifted down with its numbers and membership, and Alan just said, well, now's the time to pull the pin. So,
Harry, were you part of that forum?
No, I believe I looked at it, but I never joined.
Okay.
There was the other forum in the UK, wasn't it? The Diecast Aircraft Forum.
Yeah,
DAF.
We're going to talk about that in another stream, mate. So, because we're hoping to get one of the DAF guys, one of the original DAF guys, on a stream to talk about the DAF, because I think it deserves its own little stream.
Yeah.
So, Mark,
it's a great story.
Just tell us about Facebook. So you've done something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Stu's probably taken over the world with his forum. So how did you go about with your Facebook thing, Matt?
I've never really been a PC guy. So well, I might say PC. I mean, not the political correctness. I mean, having a computer. I think it probably both counts. So I, you know, like with the forum, I guess in the early days, it wasn't really user friendly with a phone or something. It was more attributed to a PC setup or a laptop, whatever it is. So, not that I didn't go on them. I just found it a bit more. It was, you know, if you try and read them on the train, you'd have to. It was a bit of a pain in the backside to do it like. But obviously, I used to watch from afar, and I guess it was around about the birth. So I started in 2006. I remember when we bought our flat. The first model I ever got was a 132 jumping jack Mustang by Corgi. And the bloody thing fell off and hit my wife on the foot, snapped all the propellers off. I remember then buying a Mosquito, a Winter ME109G, Keith Park's Hurricane. I had 6 or so 132s in there. So that's where I started. But when my little boy was born, I had like we lived in a little terraced house in Hornchurch, right next to the old RAF Hornchurch, opposite where Salem and Land lived, of all people. We lived at the end of our road during obviously the conflict, which was quite great for from a history buff like me. I was like, you know, I was in my element. So I had a little collection in my loft in some Billy bookcases. I used to go up there because that's where I had to store them at the time, because I did have them in the third room, but that became Rafe's room, and you know, so all my stuff was up there. So I thought, you know, I might as well just start a bit of a pictorial review, because it was good to keep a little file almost with it. So initially, because it was mainly Corgi and Amacon when I first started in 172.
Okay.
It was called the Corgi Diecast Aviation page, but as it went on, there was obviously a few people joined sort of the fold. There was James Foster and of course Dan, you know, Dan Maybo who come on. And I was like, I asked the boys if you want to come on as well, you know, share your collections on there. And it just sort of went off from there, and you know, put it onto Facebook. And Facebook was really interesting, but of course on Facebook there's a really good diecast aviation collectors group as well, which was run by Chris Lawless, John Hayden. There was someone else as well whose names escaped me, so apologies if I missed them. And that was a really good resource as well. So I thought, you know what, it was mainly for my collection to be on there, like showcase it, document it. So if I ever want to search for it, it's there. And then the pandemic come along, and I was convinced to go onto Instagram, and it just went ballistic, like absolutely mental. Because during the pandemic, I think a lot of people found, you know, they had a lot of spare time on their hands. They were stuck at home. You know, Airfix become a bit of a thing again. Hornby become a bit of a thing. Scale Electrics become a bit of a thing. And then I guess die casting, if there is such a term, become an even bigger thing. And of course, it coincided with me building my man cave, and it just sort of went big. And I found we did a few live videos, just usually me and Dan just chatting away, talking about our collections, talking about things. You know, I contacted Noel, and Noel come on, you know, he did his first ever thing on the page with us, you know, talk about Caliber Wings, and then he started his live streams through that. And you know, obviously I've got to talk to Michael during the pandemic as well. We did a Q&A, which Corgi then used for their Christmas thing. So I guess I had some good ideas, and I really enjoy it. And it's a bit like Use3. You talk about building friendships through people we might only see once a year. You might even see them, you know, you might only see them every few years. But it's a great way of just chatting about a hobby we absolutely love, and just really sort of endorse what a great community of people are all involved, because we all love aircraft fundamentally. We all love going to watch them at air shows. We like going to museums. Now, this is just the big kid in us all that wants these aircraft on display. And like I said, I think I said it at the start of the video in terms of the mental health side of things, that staying active is really key when things go wrong in your life. And you know, I'm looking down at Harry there, who's had a really tough journey over the last few years, but has got through it. Being busy and having something to sort of, you know, if you had a crap day at work, you know, you come home and you want something else to do, and it really infuses you, and it keeps you going, it keeps you interested, it keeps you're vibrant. And we all love, you know, look at the forum, look at the love that people have for that. You know, you look at the collections on there, and I'm you know, we've all got collectors envy, haven't we? You know, there's some amazing collections around the globe, not just in our own countries. And you know, I just love seeing it. It just fuels you, doesn't it? It makes you want to keep going and keep improving your collection. But also, I guess from my point of view is that we always talk about not having that link between the hobby and the people who pay for the hobby. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this was to try and bridge that a little bit.
Yep.
And hopefully I've played a little bit of a part on there. I've not played a massive part because you look at the forums, you look at the people who do the pre-pros and the ideas. You've got is it Jim who's over in the Ulster Aviation Museum? I forget his name now, but my brain is completely gone, so I apologise. There's loads of people who do lots of stuff for the hobby, and it's great to talk to them about stuff. And like I said, the reason I chat to Michael quite a lot, I still want him on to do a Wings Monthly with Michael, because I think it'd be a great way for everybody to come on here, not to attack him, because I think that's really important. We don't do that.
Yeah.
This is my job, is to get splinters in my bum and sit on the fence, because my job is to marry up it and look at the good and look at the bad and balance it out, because you shouldn't make it personal. I think that's where some people can overstep the mark a little bit, because
I agree.
Yes, they've got a product they want to sell to us, but we want that product to be right. So there's got to be a bit of a balance in between, right? And I think it's really, really important for me that I wouldn't ever use this to go on there. And you spoke about being in the older forums where you get people being abusive and unnecessarily angry, and then obviously I'm looking at Harry, and Harry's had to take a brunt of that being an admin. I won't stand for that. It's not. We're all in this together, and I think you, Christian, are very passionate about the hobby. And we talk about the hobby. We're at a stage where it's not dying, but with the price increases now, the demand from us guys, especially ones who've been around for a few years now collecting, is probably higher than it's ever been, because we're getting almost a little bit, how can I say, accepting of, we want it to be the best that can possibly come out. And I guess, like my point of view is just, I want this hobby to go on when I'm old, grey and bald. Not pointing at you three, of course. When I'm a little bit older, I still want to be doing this 30 years down the line if I'm still around in them points, and the collection's even bigger. And it's really important that then other people come in. It isn't an old boys club, and I don't mean that in the sense of age, but it shouldn't be a locked door. It should be open to everybody coming into the hobby. And if you want to start with Maestro, you start with Maestro and go for it, and then bridge your way up. If you've got an Amacom collection or an Atlas collection, I think Dan pointed that last night, which is generally the starting point for new collectors. Yeah, bring them in. It's an open door, and get and encourage and use our knowledge and experience and what we've done through the hobby to try and infuse people to keep going. I guess that's probably a quite long-winded summary there, Christian, but just make it out what you will.
I think the streams are fantastic. I think it's the streams that you've decided to do is one of the best innovations in a long time. I think Stu nailed the forum life. I think he's nailed that, and then these streams has just added to it, and just added another thing for the hobby. And I'm not saying manufacturers should be grateful, whatever, but having them engage you in these sort of streams, I mean, I think those streams,
it's a brilliant platform.
Are incredibly popular.
Yeah,
I think it's great work.
It's a brilliant platform to bring different people in. Look at last night, I think that part of the reason we started this Wings Monthly thing, I wanted to do it a couple of years ago, but like I said, my brain was, there's so much going on with me over the last 2 years, which I won't bore you to tears with. But I'm up that change curve now. I'm coming up the hill, thankfully. And I want this to be an opportunity for people who might not have had a voice before to have a voice. So if you look at last night, Gary Dukes, who was on, he's a big D-Day guy. Somebody's nicknamed him Zebra, which I think is a brilliant nickname because obviously the black and white stripes. Yeah. But he was a little bit nervous about coming on, and he come on, and he was just the enthusiasm, just you know what I mean? It would just come out. It's infectious. And Dwayne, who's come on, he's been pestering me for months about, Mark, let me come on. Just loves the hobby. And then you think Michael Lowe, who was on before, World War I expert. Lovely, amazing guy, absolutely brilliant guy. His knowledge, people. Fantastic. Now, we wanted obviously Mark on as well at some point, which I hopefully will get him on at some point as well. Yeah. Absolutely dedicated to his research and making sure that the models are the best they could possibly be. And that's what we need. All these different people make this hobby and make it fun, 100%. Make it interesting, and make that. We all absolutely love it, don't we? And long may it continue.
All right, that's I hope so too. So we might just get away from the forums and Facebook for a little bit. We're over the hour already, but that's okay. We'll burn through the next couple of subjects pretty quickly. So just want to get some reactions from everyone. The first one is the announcement of the F5 tooling. So just initial thoughts, reactions. How keen are you, Stu?
F5A, well overdue. Not a big one for me, but probably I'll definitely grab one in a Vietnam scheme to add to my Vietnam shelf. But yeah, there'll be others that will indulge much more. Great for the Canadians. There's just so many countries entered. Well overdue. Bring on the TA4.
Well, okay, beauty. Harry, I know you're a World War II guy, but what do you think?
Honestly, I have no input on that one.
Okay.
I really don't. I'm sorry.
Does it have a propeller?
No, you have.
No, to be from a broader scale, it's not something I would go after. But I think a Vietnam napalm tooled F5, lovely, absolutely. That would look absolutely brilliant. I hope they do go down that route. But look, it's not one for me. Eventually, I might get to it. But no, if it's not a Spitfire.
Yeah, I'm a prop guy, not a fast pointy thing.
Yeah. I'm pretty keen. Dan, AC pilot, for those who don't know, Dan is a pilot himself. He'll be doing backflips over the last 24 hours with the announcement of the F5A. And I think it's a fantastic little tooling. Heaps of countries. It's small, which I think will be, which will encourage people to buy it. So a thumbs up. My only concern is I hope it's a brand new tooling and they pick the right plastic model to sort it out. The next one I want to just quickly talk about, again, I'm sorry, Harry, we're talking about jets again, the B-58.
Oh,
that's
on that. That's the one.
Sorry, Harry?
Jet that I'd be in on.
Yeah. Look, I was so excited, but it's my favourite aircraft. I think it just looks extraordinary and it had an extraordinary performance. It was probably 10 years too late and not quite there for the missile age, but it looks fantastic. So thoughts on the churn, on the discussion on the B-58? We'll start with you, Mark.
Look, I've got to be really careful with this because I know obviously Mr. Noel can be very, I consider Noel a mate. And I want to make that quite clear, like Noel's never done anything to me that's upset me. Okay. He's very strong in his opinions and he's entitled to that. But I think he's got a bit of work to do in terms of the engine pods. I think that's clear. I think the rest of the model looks fantastic. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. And I think he recognises that. And I think he's frustrated with it. But Noel, bless him. And again, you've got to remember, he's doing everything in a second language as well. So when if you ever talk to someone who's, like, I'll use a Polish person I used to work with, used to say I was mental because I'd walk into Costa and I'd say, "Good morning, could I have a milky latte," or something like that. Well, a Polish person will walk in and go, "Coffee." That's it. And when you translate from a different language, the English language is massive, of course. I think he finds... Yeah, he's very direct. But I also think he's very stubborn as well. He is stubborn because he cares about his subject. He is meticulous with what he wants, regardless of your disagreements with him. He wants what he wants, and then what he gets, I think, frustrates the life out of him. Because I think he used the first prototype as some sort of football, didn't he? Before kicking the crap out of it. Look, it's got the potential to be the best model ever produced. I just don't think it's there just yet.
I'm going to rethink my prediction after that, Mark. I'll have to think about my prediction where I'm going to do it now. After that, Harry, what do you want to say, mate?
Well,
Stu knows what I'm saying.
I am typically not a fast pointy guy, but I am a big fan of the B-58 Hustler. I always thought it was a very cool aircraft. And I say that I'm not a fast pointy guy. I like jets. I just don't collect them. I've got one F4 Phantom in my collection, and that's the only jet that I own. I tried to collect jets at one time, but again, it's a space limitation, and I prefer World War II, and that's what I went with. But the B-58 to me would be a fantastic model. I think that Noel is going in the right direction. My only The only issue I would have with it is the price. I think that it's going to be probably more than I could afford in my budget.
Yeah.
If he could bring the price down some, I think that would be fantastic. I'd probably splurge for one. And as you know, as Mark relayed, I mean, he's not quite there with it yet. The engine nacelles, I think, need a little work, and I think the nose needs a little bit of massaging. I'm a big fan, and I think the nose of the aircraft is just a little too fat, just slightly. But I'm no expert, and I'm not going to profess to be one. Just comparing the diecast to the actual pictures. To me, the nose looks a little narrower, a little more sharper. The nacelles are obviously a point of contention with everybody, and I think that's going to be the big selling point. If he can get those nacelles right, I think he'll have a winner on his hands.
Yeah.
So it's just to come back to what you said at the start. I think looking at the die-cast content, because there was a lot of metal on this aircraft, I think we're looking at around about £280 to 300 quid. Just looking at that. If the Vulcan's now 240 quid by Colgate, and the Vulcan is probably 50% plastic, this is going to be close to 300 quid.
No, I agree. And Stu?
So B-58 for me, I'm from class of 1965. So the B-58 was always a dream machine. When we looked at pictures of it, you saw video of it flying. It was always, your eyes bloody wide and popped. And to me, having a die-cast one, I'd probably only ever buy one, maybe two, but it would be like a holy grail model for me. So I think everyone knows Noel's brief history with the forum has been topsy-turvy and a little bit unpleasant. There was some fairly nasty comments. But I am a Caliber Wings fan. I've got nearly every one of his Tomcats. The only reason I didn't buy, I've got a couple of Su-24s. The only reason I didn't buy the MH3 is I'm trying not to have any Russian models in my collection. Just it's a theme I can do without. But I want to buy a B-58 and I want to buy one from Noel. But I do want to see those engine nacelles trimmed down to how they should be. It's interesting, if you look at the profile looking down onto those engine nacelles, they look like the right width, but it's the depth of them. Looks like he's got that part a bit off, which is a shame because he was given very good commentary and feedback on those nearly 2 years ago, which led to an explosion. So, look, I see, from my point of view, I see Noel as someone who is deeply, deeply passionate about his brand and his part of the hobby, and people with that much invested and that much passion, they tend to flip from different sides of the spectrum. He's a very, very smart guy, very talented guy, and unfortunately he lets the other side of it bubble into his feedback with his customers, which is a shame and it's unnecessary, but that's him. If you accept that for what it is, then I'll remain a strong fan of his brand and the work that he does, because no one else would bring us a B-58. No one else is going to give us an S2 tracker. He's listened, and those are models which people have asked for, and he's actually responded to that, putting his money down. So it's a good point. I take my hat off to what he does. I hope the B-58 is trimmed up around those engine nacelles. The rest of it, to me, looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'll be having at least one.
Sorry, Christian, to interject. I've just had a couple of questions come through. Obviously, Jamie McGaffigan has just said, obviously, great job on Model Hangar 3, guys. So there is a lot of love out there. So obviously a lot of thanks as well, but he's also said HM could undercut Noel on the B-58, and obviously they did that with the U2, didn't they? So Noel announced the U2 and then Hobby Master steamed in and took the glory from him. Would you think Hobby Master would venture down the B-58 route? I couldn't see it. I think it's too niche.
I can't see it.
No. Not enough life in the mold for multiple models.
It's a niche model from a niche manufacturer, and I think Caliber Wings is in that sort of category.
Yep.
I agree with what everyone says. There's not really much I can say, much more than I add. I think it is important, though, from a sales perspective, that it does well. I think that it is trimmed up, because it's the nutters that's going to fund the B-58, not the average person, because of the price that Mark alluded to. And if you don't get the nutters on board, then who are you going to go to buy that model at that price? And I think you need to, in this case, with a model like that, I think you need to pay attention to the nutters, like us four, and the forum, because it's such a niche model. You can get away with it with a model where you can do, 100 releases like the F4 Phantom, Hobby Masters F4 Phantom, but you can't do it with the B58.
No,
not in my view, anyway.
Well, maybe.
All right, so second last thing, this is just you guys pick a release, or is there something in the hobby? If you could just do it briefly, because we are burning time. A new release or a model that has just come out that you want to quickly discuss and share us your thoughts, Mark.
The only one I would say, I mean, the new Hobby Master Tornado looks the business, but just reading the forums in between the videos tonight, it looks like they've missed the rear front wheel door in a lot of the models that have gone out, which feels like such a face palm, because it is
a corgi moment, isn't it?
Bloody incredible piece of work. It looks amazing. And apparently it's relatively light. I've not obviously held one yet. And that's the problem with nowadays, isn't it? You can't find a model shop that's got it, because there is no model shops, or are no model shops left. I use better English, being the only Englishman on. But I think that for me is one that I would said, nah, I'm not interested in it. And I look at it now and I think, you know, I really want it.
It looks amazing.
It looks fantastic. I smashed it out of the park. So that's the one for me. I've seen Jason's pictures on the page. Jason seems over the moon with it as well, and he loves his Tonkers. So I think the 148 Tornado. Also, just a little point I'd like to add. I've got the Johnny Halton Spitfire turning up next week from Andy Beck. It's sold out on the Corgi website.
Really?
Really?
And also, I don't know, obviously you're more international than me, but Corgi also sent me a 30% discount voucher to my email yesterday. So I used that to buy the Lysander for 30 quid with my hobby points.
Wow.
So it cost me £30 for a brand new Lysander. So there's something to watch out for your inboxes, lads. Just check your junk mails, because that is around. And also make sure you fill in the Corgi survey as well, because you get 15% voucher for that. And it's well worth giving the feedback to them as well. In a constructive way, might I add.
I'll do my best.
It's one of those rare things where Johnny Halton Spitfire was released at a good time, because there's a lot of good positive publicity around D-Day anniversary. It's a D-Day liveried Spit with big old bold invasion stripes, and it's available for sale at a shop near you. So hopefully it will sell out. It'll be successful.
It's off the Corgi website. For it to sell off the Corgi website, I've also noticed that Daisy Grace, obviously the great Grace Spitfire, so that's Caroline and Nick's son and Richard's sister, is also selling it on their page on Facebook, and they've got a significant chunk of them, and they're selling like hotcakes off of that page. So that's good to see. It's obviously the third release in the 9 series, and it's a bloody beauty of a model. I will do a video of that next week with all 3 and the TR9 as well. I'll do.
Just want to point out it's a Kiwi pilot as well.
Oh, is he Kiwi?
Just want to let.
Wait, I thought he was Aussie. I thought
Johnny Halton. Oddly silent on it. It's a Kiwi.
Two out of 3 of the new Mark 9 releases have been Kiwi releases.
I know.
How good is that?
What the hell?
Yeah.
Yes.
Going crazy.
Harry, anything you want to quickly talk about?
No, I really don't. I mean, I really kind of envy you guys on the Corgi side, because everything I get from emails, they're like UK only. I don't get to partake in the discounts, stuff like that. I'm an Airfix guy. I love Airfix. I build their models, but I can't get their discounts. Same way with Corgi. I mean, they send me a coupon saying, "Hey, 15%," but this only applies for the UK. I'm like, oh, whatever.
That sounds like you need a trip over here, Harry.
Yeah. Stu, what do you want to talk about?
So probably the last model I got 2 days ago, and ironically for me, because I don't collect 148th, was a 148th Spitfire, and it was the Johnny Halton. And I nearly missed out on it because it's gone sold out like crazy. Maybe again because of the D-Day theme, but I've had 2 other Hobby Master 148 Spitfires. They've both been Mark 14s. This is my first Mark 9 and it's an absolute stunner. And I just got to be now careful because I don't want any more. I don't collect 148.
How many times we
So I
said
do
that, Stu?
have at
Famous
last
last
count
words.
Just turn out another Kiwi pilot. Sure,
54 148 models, but I don't want any more. But that model is just absolutely stunning. So I can see now, I've been watching the hype of all the build-up of the release of Hobby Masters, the Splits, the Hurricanes, and the 109s, and people are going nuts for them, and that's fantastic. If they can keep working on that mottling on the German stuff and the 190s, etc., and they've already got a win on their hands, and I'm sure they'll do well. But for me, brakes on, no more. Got to be careful. And the other new arrival for me on its way has been a very hard to find 1/200 scale LC 130 from In-Flight 200. So I love the In-Flight 200 stuff. They're Hercules models, like little gems. They're absolutely beautifully detailed. Small, obviously, but and the thing is, you've got to watch the release numbers. Are normally around 100 made worldwide. So if you see a model that comes out, it looks like of its interest to you, and the C130s from In-Flight, then snap them up because they don't last long. They are like hen's teeth. So, but nothing else really on the new arrivals front. I've been buying a bit so far this year, but I've been trimming back a bit too. So, trying to keep one for one and keep the wife happy.
And I'm helping
but that's not always
Stu out with his trimming. I just want to point out.
Yeah, there's more to come.
Christian, sorry to interject quick. Jamie has asked your thoughts, all three you guys, on the new B26 Dynamite.
I'll go quickly in first. I think it'll be fantastic. I'll probably only get just the one, but if it is a tail sitter, I will be more than unhappy. And I was bad enough that they've re-released the Canberra, and it needs a stinking plastic stand to hold the arse end of it up. That is just so wrong in 2024. Yeah. You've got a tail sitter on your hands. If the B26 is a tail sitter, then someone needs to have their bloody ass kicked at Corgi. The model itself, though, is looking fantastic, and I'd like to get one. If I do, I'll have to modify it so it stands on its own pins, or it'll go on a stand. Great release, well overdue. The B26 was such a significant aircraft World War II, and Hornchurch, who's deeply passionate about the B26, I think the most prolific American bomber based in Great Britain during the war, had such a major role, and it's so understated and it's so needed. So great news, great to see it.
And
bring it on.
Essex is its home county, so the B26 obviously Stansted was, or Mount Fitchett as it was. It's known for this county. It's stamped on it. So from my point of view, I'm really excited by that. I think it looks brilliant. I know there's issues with the angles and stuff like that, but it looks nuts for me.
It looks like a B26. It'll be a B26.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence. Sorry, lads. I'm on the fence. I'm more interested in some of the MTO Pacific B26s, to be honest. But I still may get it because I'm a nutter. But I am on the fence.
I think you need to see it in the flesh first, Christian.
Well,
I think when you see it in the flesh, I think you'll have a bit of a change of heart.
Yeah. I just want to. The SU-22, the Russian SU-22 from JC Wings, all sold out, and the reason is it's a fantastic model. It looks amazing. I just can't rave on about it. I found one in Australia, and I got the last one. Good luck trying to find one. But it is a fantastic model. Just and a quick plug, because Stu took my thunder a little bit. Just a quick plug to HM. Their latest modelling technique on that 109 that was shown the other day on the forum. Oh my Lord, that modelling is the best they've ever done, and in my view, HM are killing Corgi when it comes to modelling, and it's great. And they've been, there's incremental improvement over a long period of time, but that latest effort, I assume Harry is reasonably impressed with it himself, and he's the master modeler of all. That is a fantastic effort for a mass-produced model. Righto. Last thing, final predictions. This is tradition on here. What do you think is going to happen in the hobby? What do you think is going to happen with manufacturers? Any predictions, Mark?
Well, the bombshell last night that Gemini Aces is looking to get back. Holy shit. I don't think there's been that many swear words on here tonight, but I can happily say holy shit. Absolutely love them. And, I hope to get, I think it's Elliot Epstein, I think was the name who was mentioned. I'm going to speak to Dwayne, see if we can get him on a Wings Monthly. I went in there in 2019 at Gemini Aces when I went to Vegas, and I spent a good hour and a half, 2 hours in there. And bear in mind, it's not a massive shop, just chatting. And I badgered them and said, no, you've got to get 172 back. I've sent them loads of messages through Instagram. You need to get 172 back. And they made little steps, didn't they, with the Hornet? They did a Blue Angels Hornet, didn't they, recently?
Yes. That's the Woody Wings mold they did through JC Wings. So it's JC Wings. But
I mean, they put it obviously through a Gemini front as such, didn't they? I'm really excited about it. Look, don't be wrong, the Corgi Mark 9 Spitfire is stunning. I would imagine Corgi are dragging their heels a little bit on remodelling the P51B. So I think it's a great opportunity. Amazing models, amazing packaging. They look the part of your collection. Yes, that's a few issues with the build quality, especially on Snoop Sniper, wasn't it? But if only somebody can convince Dragon to dig up their molds from somewhere, as long as they've not all been destroyed or whatever. But that would be another one, would be a brilliant shot in the arm for the hobby if we could get them back as well. But look, that's amazing for me. I think at RIAT next month, there's 2 new announcements, isn't there, that Corgi have alerted to? Yep. I think there'll be a 148 buck. I think that would be my prediction.
Whoa.
And it wouldn't surprise me if we get 100th Bomb Group B17 announced as well. I think they've got to, because Master of the Air was a massive success, a brilliant program. I hope you guys have watched it. Really enjoyed it. I know the nitpickers are saying the CGI, but I mean, unless you can find 30 flyable B17s to put in the sky with a number of Mustangs and ME109s and Focke-Wulfs, it ain't going to happen. So I think that would be my prediction. That's it. I'll stick with that.
Harry, any predictions, my man?
Well, I think that we'll continue to see improvement on the side. You mentioned the 109. I think that their German stuff is improving. The molds are fantastic, and they have been from day one. The 109 had a bunch of problems. They couldn't seem to get the versions straight. They were issuing G models with F series wheel wells, F wheels, stuff like that. But now I think they're starting to get thinned out. The 190s have always been fantastic. It's a fantastic mold. At one time, I was actually in talks with William to paint their paint masters, to do the actual masters. The logistics on it just weren't there, though. To send it here to the U.S., for me to paint it and then send it back to China, it was just beyond what we could do. I will say this. We've seen the end of OMI, Eagles International. I bought the last 6 planes from him that he had. So he's no longer interested in building any or doing any more skiing.
Okay.
So no more P6 Texans, no more P51s. Matter of fact, they've lost track of the molds.
That's
he contacted the factory, and the molds are. He can't even get anybody to return his calls from the factory anymore. So he thinks the molds are.
They're amazing. They're beautiful.
That P51 is cracking.
Yeah. And a while back ago, he had to do basically a tax write-off and destroy a couple hundred. Because it was just costing him too much to store. So he ended up having to destroy about a couple hundred planes.
What?
And what he kept left, I actually bought. Yeah,
that's terrible.
It's sad. They make wonderful Code 3s. But I do think that, as far as the future of the hobby, I think we'll see more 148 coming around. I'm hopeful for that. I'm hopeful that the molds will improve. And that's about it for me. Because I'm a 148th guy. I can't really say much about what I think the Jets will do or the 172nd Bombers. That's just not my forte anymore.
Okay.
I'd love to see a double engine World War II from Hobby Master, P-38 Mosquito. That's a possibility, but I don't know if it'll happen or not.
Okay. Stu, predictions, my man.
I think the age of 148th is with us well and truly. It's evolving probably faster now than it has for a while. I know Corgi would probably be very, very pleased with their World War One line, and the fact that that's going from strength to strength. They seem to sell really well. What they've produced so far is of a good quality, and I think that's one I'm sure they'll continue to invest in with new molds. And as far as the other manufacturers go, you can see that Hobby Masters, a big percentage of their new releases is 1/48th, and again, I'm sure they'll keep producing new molds as well to keep it fresh and live and growing. There's an obvious need for a few which sort of stand out, like the 190 Dora, since Carousel's gone. But I mean, there's others which will just come off as low-hanging fruit. They'll grab them and run with them. The other side of it is that I would call the bottom end of what's available, and there seems to be a plethora of new manufacturers popping out of China with some really, on the outside they look a little bit tacky, but the die-cast models are like F16s and things like that. They're very, very cheap. You've seen the Americon molds and others. They've been reused and rebadged. Again, very, very cheap. But what that does, it probably continues to bring in new people that may not have ever bought a die-cast mold. They'd love to have a kit set, but they're building it. So they may spend that $25 or 25 quid on a cheap and cheerful, and they're happy. They've got an F16 on their shelf, but they've got a Spitfire. So that side of the market doesn't interest me personally, but it interests me to the extent that it's a good entry level that seems to be continuing to grow, which is good for those that want to start, continue, get involved with the forum, see what else is out there. Birthday comes round and suddenly old mate buys them a Flash Hobby Master or a Flash Corgi version. They continue to grow their hobby from there. So that side of the hobby is evolving, which is fantastic. But as Harry said, we're a bit of a grey hair brigade, and the more people that are aware of it, across it, and are enjoying it, the more the hobby's going to be invested in and expand. So that's a plus all round.
Spot on.
Cracking point, Stu. I got 1 point, one prediction, all very quick, and one question. My point is Spay Phantom for Gemini. Let's go. My prediction is if the B58's not improved, it will be the doom of caliber wings. I have lots of reasons for that, but if they don't fix the B58, I think that'll be the end of caliber wings. And one question: when is HM going to release a Mon Jet in 148? So there you go. That's my three things.
I don't know if they're going to. I think there might be a mutual respect with Colgate because they're sort of not treading on each other's toes. Just yet.
The F4 Phantom nearly came out.
Yeah.
COVID ruined it. So it's just an interesting question. So that's it for me. Mark, I'll hand over to you. Thanks very much, lads. It was a fantastic chat. And Harry, I'm so pleased I finally get to meet you, mate. And Stu, I can't wait to travel with you again.
Yes, indeed, mate. Can I, just before we summarise, can I just do a couple of quick thank yous? For me, the couple of guys that pitch in and make MH3 stable or help me in the back end. Obviously, Skyfire, who is my technical go-to. I think when I bumped into Skyfire, he was not really big into die-cast aircraft, but had a passing interest. But he's at his own forum, and he's my technical go-to guy. So knows the Pro Boards workings back to front, and he's a great guy to have as a trusty, loyal wingman in the background on the technical side. Dan in Canada. Dan has had some bad health of late, so he hasn't been active on the forum for 3 or 4 months, but instrumental with, we work together on the banners. We try to have a fresh banner every month, but we haven't for the last few months, but that's cool. We'll get back to that. He plays a fantastic role as well. A couple of moderators that don't have a lot of work to do because I do most of it, but there's, the forum runs pretty smoothly without much moderation, which was good. But those lads are anonymous, are in the background doing their thing. Well done to them. And lastly, Buck in Norway. And his passion for the Member of the Year is something worth noting as well. He is a big part of the reason why I think the forum has been important for people that have gone through something in their life above and beyond diecast. So, Buck's had a terrible run with bereavements. We've seen just recently another member that's had his wife die. I think the forum does, and forums always have had their place as an out place to go. Share something which is positive. There's a lot of like-minded people around you, and you can enjoy life a bit better by having like-minded people to distract you from a bit of pain in your life. So thanks to those guys that have helped me continue to make the Model Hanger 3 forum as good as it is, with more to come.
Wonderfully said, Stu. Wonderfully said, mate. I'm glad you said it.
Thank you.
And Christian, I'd like to say that it is a pleasure to finally meet you. You and I have talked a lot.
We have.
Stu, I can't say that, you're doing a buck up job on the forum. It's great. Mark, I've been slowly getting into following your feeds on Instagram and Facebook both. So, and they're always good and positive. I think it's a great venue for people that want to be introduced to the hobby. I'm sorry, I'm having a little brain fart here, but I do appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the invitation tonight. And I apologize if I kind of went off on a tangent on the model hanger one.
No.
Nobody will ever
Not at all, mate.
So good.
Part of its rich history, Harry.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it really wasn't very positive for me. And I'm honestly surprised that I'm still here in this hobby. But it is a passion for me, and I try to stay with it as much as possible. Not as much as I used to, but I do appreciate the support. It's been a rough going the last few years, and I think everything's looking pretty good now. So
That's
You're a
great
stalwart,
to hear.
Harry. You're a stalwart, mate.
Yep, very much so, mate. Lovely to catch up today.
yeah,
Lovely.
Mark,
So gets over to me. So look, for me, thank you guys to try and get this for anybody who's still watching, who's hung in with us. Really, really appreciate you. It's been a logistical challenge trying to get 3 different guys plus myself on a time that is agreeable for us all. So thank you so much, guys, for making the time, whether it be the morning, the evening, the night, the middle of the night. I have no idea what time scales it is across the world. But look, it's also really important to me that I talk about the veterans of die-cast collecting. You guys are the founding fathers almost of the early days of collecting, because people come in at different parts. I come in 2006. There's probably people who've joined the last year or so, or through the pandemic. So there's so many different types of collector out there. But look, thank you so much for coming on and spending. We said at the start, we'll do it in an hour. Hour and a half, and it's just flowed, and it's been enjoyable, and it's been knowledgeable.
That's mate.
It's really great to spend time with like-minded individuals. I hope you can all get over to the UK at some point, or vice versa, and we can all meet up for a nice cold or a lukewarm beer, as the British would use. But it'd be great to see you at a show at some point. But look, thank you so much for all coming on. I won't keep you any longer. Thank you for everybody who's tuned in and watched. I hope you've really enjoyed it. I'll share this on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, and I'm sure it'll be on the MH3 forum as well. I'll try and leave a link in the Instagram one. I'll share it quickly tonight and then edit it tomorrow, so everyone can have a nice watch of this over a cup of tea and a biscuit, or wherever floats your boat. But thank you so much, guys. I've really enjoyed the last hour and a half. Thank you, Christian, for trying to be the wheel that's put all this together and got the wheels in motion to make sure it happens tonight. So look, have a great day, guys. Obviously, I'm going to go to bed now, we're going to get up in 4 hours. So, but look, it's been a really enjoyable hour and a half, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days or your weekends and your rest, or even just eating your dinner, Harry, as he joined the practice bit. So, look, really appreciate it. It's great to put names to faces as well. Yeah, look, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone who's watched, and we'll speak to you all soon.
Thank you for accommodating me.
Yes, have a good one. Take care.
Cheers. Have a good night. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.